Hello everyone, this is Grumpy Gamer. Welcome back to another episode of my Tekkit server. Made a few changes since you last saw me. First of all, I got the lava production. Well, I had it temporarily going. I built the lava storage tanks, and the lava comes in right here. It gets stored in this tank. I'm in the utility room, by the way. And it goes, the lava goes up here, and then let me show you what it looks like up there. I have a couple major setbacks, but I'll get into that in a minute. Well, one major, one kind of medium, I guess. The major one's a major one. Basically, my refinery blew up. But anyway, yeah, the lava comes up this pipe, and it feeds into these 5 geothermal generators. If you notice, they're already empty. My first setback was I built the lava well, and it was drilled fine. It ran into obsidian once, so apparently the lava intersected with the water. I went down there, busted obsidian. It kept drilling, and then it got down a little ways, and then all of a sudden I noticed I wasn't getting any lava. So I went over to the lava well, and there was no pool of lava at the bottom like there was supposed to be. So all it was one long shaft of lava, and when it got to the end of the shaft, that was it. So I got a little bit of lava out of this well, and that's it. But I've already disassembled the well. I was getting ready to move it, and so I tore down all my machinery, and I just happened to glance over there, and I noticed that the oil refinery wasn't loaded up. I just saw like a few sporadic blocks. I saw the water store or the liquid storage facility. I could see all this quarries in the background. I mean, you can see my quarry way off there in the distance. But the refinery, it's just a few random blocks, and there was a massive crater. In fact, I started filling it up with cobblestone. Gave up on that, and I just put a layer of dirt on the top. But there's a massive crater right here. All the blocks, but like 10, were completely destroyed. The only thing left was this one block of refinery or refined fuel. I've built all this stuff back since, honestly. All that was destroyed. The only thing left, you can see how it stores it. It's stored in the middle. This game's kind of wacky. You think gravity would pull it down, but it doesn't work that way. But that one block is all I had left of the refined stuff. The 6 tanks of the oil, they were all destroyed too. Everything was destroyed, except for like 10 or 15 blocks. But yeah, all 6 of those tanks were destroyed. There was like 1 or 2 blocks of tank left. But anyway, now I've got to completely rebuild my refinery. So that brings me to the current project. While I'm actually recording, I'm going to do an experiment. I've told you how tough this reinforced glass is, so I'm going to show you how tough this stuff is. Let me put down a block of it right here. And keep in mind, I'm using a diamond drill. This is the same thing as using a diamond pickaxe. So let me show you how long it takes to bust this stuff. So I don't think it's quite as long as obsidian, but it's a pretty long time. So what I'm going to do is I built a box out of this reinforced glass, and I put a piece of TNT in there. And what I'm going to do is detonate it, and I want to see if it destroys the glass or not. So nope, it did not destroy the glass. Now hopefully that will work for the engine too, because the engine is more powerful. That would be a good experiment to do too. I do have a little bit of fuel left over here. I guess it doesn't matter, but anyway, the refinery design, it just kind of sucked. Honestly, it was an experiment. I was learning how to do it, and I just kept adding to it. Kind of like the machine in the house. I just built it, and it wasn't laid out well, and so I kept modifying it. But here's what I'm going to do is I rebuild it. First of all, I'm going to encase all the engines in glass, and all the tanks and the engines will be separated. So it'll be like 3 stages. I'll have the fuel right here, and I'll come way over here to build the refinery blocks with the engines next to them, and then I'll come way over here for storage. So if the engines ever do blow up, hopefully it won't take out the tanks. But also too, I'm going to encase a lot of it in the reinforced glass. I actually built like 7 stacks of this reinforced glass. I was kind of ticked off and I got kind of carried away. This stuff's pretty expensive to make. It took like, I don't know, like 10 stacks of iron, refined iron, bronze, and tin to make all this glass. Took like 7 stacks of glass. But anyway, that's the status of that. And I'll show you, go ahead and while we're here, I'll show you this. This is the lava storage. It's just a mirror image of this. The only difference is right now I only have one teleport pipe at the top. I only plan on building one lava well. Now here's the thing to note. You might be wondering, why did it explode? I know exactly why it exploded, and it's kind of crap. Each water well can support 3 combustion engines. Anything above that will cause the combustion engines to be starved for water. Well, that was the whole purpose of building this water facility. If I'm ever consuming more than I'm producing, it'll drain off these tanks, but that's not the way it works. I had a grand total of 7 combustion engines running, and I had 2 water wells. Now the water wells use combustion engines to pump the water out of the ground, so that's instantly 2 of the combustion engines right there are used just to get water. I had 2 of them on the refinery, 2 of them powering the quarry, and then I built the 7th one at the lava well, and that's what caused the explosion. But it's kind of crap because these tanks never drained. So basically this is just for looks. That serves no purpose whatsoever. Kind of sucks, but I guess it is what it is. I don't know if that's a bug or that's the way it's intended to work, but I was planning on coming in here. If I'm ever consuming more than I'm producing, I see the tanks draining, I know 1, the water wells are dried up, or 2, I'm consuming more, but I could figure out the problem. Well, here they're just going to explode. So just so you know, water wells, you have to have water wells to cool down your combustion engines. Each water well can cool 3 engines, and since you're using one of the engines to pump the water out of the ground, each water well will actually only let you run 2 extra combustion engines. And so I'm going to stop recording here. This refinery, first of all, I'm out of oil. The well where I'm currently getting it just had a very, very little oil left. Matter of fact, not even sure if I'll bother turning it back on. I might just go ahead and disassemble it and move the oil well. But the oil well, I did find another place to get oil. It's next to where I get water. Now I did mention in my other video that I'm getting water from 2,000 blocks away. And what happens is, originally when I first started playing around, learning how all this stuff worked, if you listen over here, you hear running water. Well, I pumped all the water out of here. You see this big crater. It removes all the water well was actually right where the liquid storage facility is at, and it pumped all this water out. And so what it does, the drill bit drops. It sucks up all the source blocks within a radius, and once they're all sucked up, the bit drops down 1 level, does the same thing, and it keeps going until it gets down to something besides water, then it stops. So we built the well there, it only lasted a few hours. We built the well down here, it only lasted a few hours. So then we decided we needed to find an ocean, and there's no ocean anywhere near here. The nearest ocean I found was 2,000 blocks away. I'm sure there might be one closer, but it's just a matter of exploring, finding for it, exploring and finding it. But at this stage, I was exploring, looking for an ocean. Right before I found the ocean, I found an oil deposit. It's massive, but it's 2,000 blocks away. And while I'm over there too, I will move the water wells. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. I'll probably show I'll show the water wells and the oil wells. So let me start recording when I get over there again. Okay, I decided to actually do another experiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a combustion engine in here, and I want to see um, how it does as far as blowing up. Unfortunately, I cannot place a lever there, so I'm gonna have to bust out a piece of glass and put something down there. We'll blow that block up probably, but that's the only block that blows up. That's fine. So let's see what's the hardest thing I got. I guess I just got some stone on me. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to place a switch. Now, by the way, if you noticed, I filled it up with a bucket. You can right click on a tank and it'll fill the bucket up. So if I can walk up to a water tank, it'll fill it up with water. I just got to put the bucket in my hand and right click on a tank and it'll fill it up with whatever's in the tank. So anyway, let's place this switch, and this time I'm going to be running this thing without... Oh, wait a minute. I have to hook it up to something so it'll do work. It won't power up unless it's connected to a wooden pipe. Unfortunately, I don't have any in my inventory either, so let me go ahead and stop recording, and I'll get this experiment set up, and I'll show you here in a second. Okay, here we go. I got it set up now. I raised the ceiling of the containment thingy. I put a wooden pipe there. I never mentioned that before, but engines work on wooden pipe, so that's what this brown pipe is. But this will let the engine do work. And once I turn it on, it's going to start overheating. It's going to take it a minute because, well, it just takes a minute. But if you notice too, I did manage to get a switch. I changed the block that the switch was on. That's called reinforced stone. That's the first piece I've ever built, but I figure it's good to know how well it does too. But anyway, we're going to let this thing go for a while, and it's not a matter if it's going to explode, it's a matter of when. So I'll let you know the results when they happen. Alright, so there it goes. It finally blew up. Let's see what it took out. It kind of looks like it didn't take out anything. Let's just bust through here and see. Still got in there an engine. See, I might have blown up the switch, I can't tell, but important thing was to know that reinforced glass will contain the blast. So if you ever want to keep your stuff from not blowing up so bad, I'd suggest reinforcing your combustion engines with reinforced glass. That's a pretty cool little experiment. So next step, I will go check the oil well, or move the oil well and check the water well. So I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, here we are back again. I've actually changed plans a little bit. First of all, I'd like to point out I went back and watched the footage that I've just recorded, and if you actually rewind a little bit and watch this explosion right here where the engine blew up, I actually took half-heart of damage, and I was standing about, I don't know, I guess about right here. So apparently this doesn't contain the blast. The block doesn't get destroyed, but I think any explosion, it's not containing it. It's just, at best, it may reduce it. If anybody knows the answer to that, I would like to know. Do these blocks, do they reduce the damage of the blast, or I know they don't stop it. So if it doesn't do anything, there's no point in even building it. The only purpose of the glass is to keep other stuff from exploding. Now, I went ahead and moved the water wells and the oil well. I had technical difficulties with the recording, so I didn't have the footage, but it's 2,000 blocks away. Sorry, you're not going to get to see that. So I had to actually rebuild the refinery before I could power up the water and the oil well, because they run off refined fuel. and so as long as I was over here, I figured I'd go ahead and do it. But as you can see, when I was talking about the redesign, it's spaced a lot more. Right now I only have one tank here and one tank here. I'll expand it later, but I was just worried about getting something up and going. But I'm going to be building more tanks. They're going to be built along this axis right here that I'm walking. If I build more refineries, same thing, they'll be built on this axis, and same thing over here for oil, they'll be built on this axis. So you can see the engine is spaced a lot more from the tank, so hopefully when it blows up, it'll do little or at least minimal damage to the actual tanks. This stuff right here, this refined fuel, this is actually like liquid gold. This takes this thing forever to make, and if you see right now it's empty. You can see the refinery is actually producing fuel. It's really slow though. That's just the way it works. But the reason the tank's not filling up, it's just being pumped out. It's actually having to fill up 4 engines right now. It's filling up this engine right here because it's a new engine. It's not even quite halfway full. And then every time I move the oil well or the water wells, it has to refill those up too. If you knock down a combustion engine, it loses all the water and fuel it had in it. It kind of sucks, but that's the way it is. And that's the thing to note too. What I need to do is experiment is this fuel is extremely efficient. So like this half a tank of fuel right here on the inside this combustion engine, it will actually last for hours and hours. I don't know how long, but what I'm starting to think is it's a waste to fill up a water well combustion engine all the way, because I think what happens is the well goes dry long before the fuel gets used up, so you end up wasting a lot of fuel. It actually takes a lot of effort to fill this thing up. This thing's been filling up for like an hour or more just to get this full. But like I said, it's filling up 4 engines right now. But I do have another plan. I'm going to do this off camera. I'm going to switch to using EU to power the quarry. And the way you do that, the quarry runs off MJ power. So that was the engines pumping into the conductor pipe. What I can actually use is a thing called an energy, I think it's called an energy link, but it'll convert the power from the solar panels into the MJ power. So what I'm going to do is build some solar power on top of the quarry power room, and eventually get rid of everything I have in there. And what will happen is the roof will be covered with solar panels, and there'll be a wire dropping down inside here. Yeah, if you look where I'm pointing now, this area up here, the top of that will be covered with solar panels eventually. Power cable will drop down, then I'll have an energy link, and it'll all be connected to this conductive pipe, and so I'll get rid of all these engines. What I'm trying to do is get away from these engines, because 1, they can explode, but 2, they're not renewable. I have to find the water and I have to find the oil. And right now, just to get the water, I'm having to walk 2,000 blocks. That's getting tedious. But we're going to build the rail system out there to it. But honestly, if I can just build this thing, if I can run everything off solar power, it'd be great. Personally, I think solar power is the best source of power in the game. It's not the most productive. Nuclear is actually the best. You build a nuclear reactor, it puts out massive amounts of energy. The problem is they can explode, and they're very complicated, and I just like the idea of solar. It's renewable, it won't explode, that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I've been recording for a while. I don't know how long, so what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to go harvest about 10 or 15, 20 stacks of rubber. It takes a ton of rubber to make a medium voltage solar array. I think it's like 6 or 7 stacks or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to make a medium voltage solar array, put it up on the roof, and then put a MFE down here, or I don't know, maybe even mfsu, and I'm going to build a massive power facility, start building a massive power facility over here, and I'm just going to have electrical power running all my quarries and stuff now. Anyway, it's Grumpy Gamer. We'll see you next time.